Hi everyone, and I'm sorry I've been absent. We've been incredibly busy working on client-related issues, but I know that you've probably missed me, right?
No one cares.
Oh, okay, thanks very much. Oh well, the thing that we're going to talk about today is this very issue of solving big problems. Meaning, let's say you've been given a big organisational challenge to solve, and you're not only trying to figure out what's the solution, what's the direction of travel, but you're also trying to figure out how do I get people on board with my direction of travel. Then you need a methodology for doing that. You not only need to know how to study the system, but you need to know how to present your findings in such a way that everybody goes, you've captured the essence of the problem. Now, of course, most people go for PowerPoints or written reports, but often all that does is adds more complexity in by people having to figure out what is it you're actually telling me is the problem. A better way to think about it is the systems picture. What the system picture does is it gives you literally a one-page graphical view of the organisational challenge. It typically goes left to right, which is the direction of flow of any work. And what it does is it embeds within it the data that tells you very, very clearly both what the problem is and what the direction of the solution is. So we're going to use the problem of a big project portfolio. Let's say that it's not delivering as fast as you want it to deliver, and let's say that it's running hugely over budget, and we've been asked to go in and solve this problem. So I'm going to talk about how we'd study it, and I'm going to talk about how we'd share the data. So we're going to start left to right by looking at the project portfolio itself. From a study perspective, what we want to know is how many projects are in the portfolio and what are the priority rules and how often do those change. What we'd see in our portfolio as we present this data back, we'd see that in this case, anything between 6 and 24 priority rules are being applied at any given time. As such, there is no prioritisation. The projects that people are working on are continually changing, and what's happening is that it's slowing down throughput. So there's the first thing to think about. Second thing we're going to think about is as a project comes out of the portfolio and goes into flight, we're then thinking about the planning of that project. What we want to know is who's doing it, what planning methodologies are they using, who's in the room, what are they talking about. And again, we'll go and we'll study people doing this. And what we see in this case is the project manager typically does the planning. As such, we see that they're making up what they think should go into the plan, roughly what the estimates are, what the outcomes are, what the sequence is. And what happens is that we have a poorly constructed plan with poor assumptions around sequences and dependencies, poor assumptions around outcomes, and certainly some very, very poor assumptions around due dates, estimates and sizing of work, which often can then get baked in by leaders to become due dates with very, very unrealistic expectations. This means that when we go to break that work down into tasks, straight away we've got poor buy-in and we've got badly designed plans, which leads to bad execution. When we go into execution, we want to study 5 things. We want to know whether or not people are working on the right things at the right time, whether there's a good sizing convention, whether or not things that are blocked get unblocked quickly, whether or not when somebody picks something up, they know what the thing is that they're working on, and whether or not before they start working on it, it has everything needed to be able to both start and finish the job. Well, if we look at these 5 things when we look at execution, what we see is constantly people are picking something up, putting it down because it gets blocked and jumping onto something else. So straight away they're working on the wrong things at the wrong time. Secondly, what we see is people are constantly starting things and stopping things because the priority rule is constantly changing. What we see is that they pick things up and not being clear on what that thing is, they can't therefore finish it. As such, again, everything takes longer, and we look at that data and we start to analyse it. We see typically that of 100 things that start, only 50 to 60 of those things actually finish. So we now know that our portfolio has problems, we know that our planning methodology has problems, and we know that our ways of working also has problems embedded into it. All of these things we're going to show in our system picture. So those that we're presenting it to, if they weren't involved in the construction of it, should start to not only see a clear linear flow left to right, but should start to see very, very obviously what problems, where they lie, and as such what we need to change. Final thing we probably want to have a look at is how we measure things. And what we see in this organisation, when we did our research, by going around and looking at measurement tools, techniques, how often people report, is that measurement is done by two ways in this project, which is either percentage complete. Now the problem with that is that projects typically say, oh, we're 70, 80% complete, and actually, we're nearly there. But of course, if you're working on the wrong things at the wrong time, what that means is often the difficult stuff gets left. That's the stuff that takes so much longer to deliver. Or what we're doing is we're just asking an opinion every fortnight as to how we're getting on. People say we're doing fine until the last minute when they find out that they're not doing fine. And the final piece of our analysis, what we're asking is, what is the leadership behaviour? And there's two things here. Number one is that leaders are constantly setting arbitrary due dates, not based on the capability of the teams and the understanding of the dependencies, which means that actually things like student syndrome, Parkinson's law, or cheating to hit a due date, therefore we miss content, is being baked in. Also, what you see is leaders are remote from the work and therefore are not reinforcing the right things around ways of working and planning, ways of working within teams. So that's not helpful. If we look at our direction of travel in terms of what to change and what to change to, our system picture gives us very clear data in terms of what to do differently. Number one, we want to go from 24 priority rules to 1. A lot of people say, oh, you can't have one priority rule. Actually, you can. One rule, one emergency rule, everything goes through faster. Secondly, in terms of planning, we want the right people in the room, the people who do the work, estimating things in round about 20 to 35 days is a good size of chunk. We want things described in terms of what will they physically see. We want to understand hard dependencies. X must be done before Y, and we want to understand capacity constrained dependencies. These two teams can't work on the same thing at the same time. And we want estimates where we have a safe estimate and an ambitious estimate, so we're not locked into due dates and we can come in faster. In terms of our ways of working, what we want on the ground is we want, again, good task sizing, about 3 to 7 days. We want things being worked on at the right time, in the right sequence. We want, when somebody's blocked, they must stop, not go on to the next thing, and that blockage goes up to leadership. And we want to make sure that tasks are well described. In terms of our measurement, we'd recommend that what you use is a fever chart, which gives you a view of how much buffer or how much safety is being consumed. If you want more information on that, please just drop me a note, a DM or an email at the end of this video. And we also want to change the role of the leader, which is to say, number one, the job of the leader is to understand the methodology and the measurement methodology, and they must be in the work to do that. And we want leaders to stop setting arbitrary due dates and look at estimates based on the actual size of the work with the teams and work from there. So that's our systems picture. It involves A, knowing how to study a system, and B, being able to succinctly put into that system your data from study, which gives you a good direction of travel. My experience in this is that if you get very, very skilled in this area, then you'll be in a situation that you can get more change much faster. In systems like this, project systems, what we find is because of our knowledge of analysis, because of our knowledge of how to change projects, we can get up to 4 times more throughput. If you want to understand how to study systems better and of course specifically improve project systems, drop me a DM and we'll have a chat. Thanks very much.